Perfect, thanks a lot. Thanks to be here. I guess that was not easy for you. It hasn't been an easy ride for me either. But I'm very happy to be here in person and to have the first slots, the slots just after the coffee, which is a bit dangerous. So I hope I will be entertaining enough. I'm Nicolas Frankel. I've been doing development for 20 years. Now I'm a developer advocate, so I don't know if I'm still a developer or not. I leave it up to you. And since a couple of years, I've been a Kotlin fanboy. I work for a company called Hazelcost, and though this talk won't be about Hazelcost, I need to justify my salary, so it's just a slide for Hazelcost, and everything will be said afterwards. So Hazelcost is a product. Who here works on the JVM already? Yeah, quite a few people. Who knows about Hazelcost already? Okay, so I won't repeat it because you already know it, but you might not know that in the latest version of Hazelcost 5.0, we have added streaming capabilities. So you can not only store data as you used to, but you can read from like a data store, transform it through Hazelcost and put it in other data store, which could be Hazelcost or not. Anyway, domain-specific language. Anybody has ever written a domain-specific language? Yeah, real engineers always try to write a DSL at one point or not. No, you should always try to create your own library, create your own framework, your DSL, or even your own language. Otherwise, you fail your life. If at 40 you never tried, and I failed my life. But anyway, so the idea of a domain-specific language is that you let go of some of the capabilities of like a general purpose language, but you adapt the language to a very specific focus area. And actually, probably, even if you never try to write a DSL, you probably have been exposed to DSLs. We have XML, which can be considered a language or not. I leave it up to experts. But anyway, if you have XML, it has a lot of capabilities. You can reduce the capabilities to have SVG, to create graphics, or to create mathematical formula with MathML. In Java, as we will see, it's a bit harder because Java doesn't lend itself to DSLs, but especially in assertions. In assertions libraries, you will find a lot of DSLs available. And in Kotlin, well, there was Anko. Rest in peace, Anko. It's deprecated, right? Yeah. That's what I remember. And I've written my own, which is called Vardin, and it was just like a proof of concept. And I will try to write one with you. So I assume that a lot of you know about Java. And actually, if you want to write a DSL in Java, you are quite limited. The features available are quite limited to create DSLs. The first is, of course, you can like order the methods, you call them in order, that can be thought as a beginning. Then you can chain methods. That's actually what you do all the time. You do Fluent APIs, so even when you have got setters, you return this, and you can call set, one after another. And afterwards, it gets not so great. So with like method calls and lambdas. So here is an example for asset4g. And you can see that we are using like method chaining quite a lot. And it's good, but with the second example with lambdas, then it doesn't read as much Fluent as we would like. So for a DSL, in my opinion, I have two goals. It should look declarative, but it's still code. So I can still use like conditions, and I can still use loops and whatever. And the rest, I will be coding. Well, trying to, because live coding is always fun. Oh, could be interesting stuff with the glass. I will put it here. Better. So I make Sebastian happy, I think, using IntelliJ. So here is a Vardin code. Who knows about Vardin? Quite a few already. Well, okay. So Vardin is the way to write graphical user interface that generates HTML, JavaScript, even CSS without writing a single line of them, which is good if you are a backend developer like me and you want to have something nice and shiny like me and you don't want to learn JavaScript at all. And even if I assume that even if you never dabbled into Vardin, you can probably understand this stuff if you have done any swing. Here you set the theme, here you create a vertical layout, you create a component, a labeled component, text field component, you add them, you set the margin, and then you set the content of the UI to the layout. And the problem with this code is that actually you can swap some of the lines without any effects on the rendering. And depending actually on what you want to achieve, here I've swapped a few lines and it doesn't change anything. The real places where I want to see stuff is here. Do I want to add the field first or do I want to add the label first? And a DSL could help tremendously here. So what I want to do is I want to create a DSL for Vardin. And because I've got no imagination, I will call it Cardin. So first thing first, I will create my Kotlin UI. And I will first make it a bit bigger. And then, because I'm super lazy, I will just use IntelliJ to transform the Java code into Kotlin code, which is great. So the first thing that I'm leveraging here, and I'm not leveraging it even, like I let IntelliJ do it for me, is actually I'm using this kind of stuff. So instead of writing set theme, and I put it here, valo, not value, and those two are interchangeable. And even IntelliJ tells me, hey, you can change it, you can use the property. That's pretty nice. So makes it a bit nicer to read. Of course, that's just only the beginning. Now what I want to do is I want to create a function that creates a vertical layout. So in Java, you would probably use a static method. Right? Okay. And in Kotlin, we can do the same with companion objects. So let's create such a function. A function, we will call it VLayout, and it will, let's say at the beginning, create a vertical layout. Now we can say here, VLayout. That's nice, but actually that's because we have been tainted with Java. The problem with this approach is that in Java, everything must belong to a class. Static methods? What for? So you know about the math class. You've got all those nice static methods inside. And in that case, the class is just an additional namespace. Doesn't make any sense. So I could easily do the same. And if you've got static methods in Java and you copy paste them in IntelliJ in a class, you will have a companion object. But yeah, first thing first, just remove this additional namespace. It doesn't make any sense. If you want to hide it, if you want to make it only available here, you can say it's a private one. But just, I mean, I never, so far I've never used a use case, I've never seen a use case for a companion object that was really compelling. Unless, of course, you want to make it compatible with Java. Then it's better. But in that case, we are in the Kotlin world, so we don't care that much. So I want to create the vertical layout, and now I will be doing my stuff. So I want to have all those lines together. So I want now everything like this vertical layout. I want to do it like this. So I will change it to block body, and I can create it like this. If at any point you've got questions, don't be shy, just ask them, and I will be happy to have some interaction, because for 1.5 years, I was sitting at home, talking to my screen, and that's not the most interesting interactions I've ever seen. So yeah, you are here, we can talk, no worries. And here I need to set the content of the UI. So here I would probably need to pass the UI, and here I would like set the UI here and say, hey, UI.content equals layout. Looks good to you? Yeah? Yeah, so far so good. Again, if it's live coding, so I might do some bad stuff, just let me know. Okay, and that's where, you know, a lot of people say, hey, we come for Kotlin for the null safety. And of course, null safety is very nice, but what I really, really love is extensions. So extension functions and extension properties. Instead of passing the parameter here, what we can do is we can, like here, say, hey, we will make believe that now UI like as an additional method. In the end, it's compiled to like a static method would be in Java, but it's very nice. And here we can say content.layout. Okay? Great. Now what I would like to do is to make this a bit perhaps nicer. So what I could probably do is I could use the apply stuff. So I would just do like this. So here I would say this, and here I this, and here. And now because I return the layout that I've just created, you can write something like that. And because I'm super lazy, I can write something like that. Nice? Yep. The thing is, this apply stuff, I use it a lot, especially when I design DSLs, because then I have this master view detail. Like I am only interested in the big picture, and if I'm interested in the detail, I can always say, oh, okay, what happens here? But for most of the part, I'm interested in big picture. I can have a quick read at the code and understand what it does. Great. So here I set the margin to true, and as the provider of the DSL, I would like to provide some more flexibility. So I would probably say here I have the margin and a margin, and it's a Boolean, and there is another thing in Vardin called spacing, and here it's also a Boolean. So what I want to do is I want to set the margin to margin, and to set the spacing to spacing. Yep. And here it tells me, hey, you didn't pass any value. Okay, so from Java, what I would do probably something like that. I would create another method without any parameter, and I would call it like VLayout, and I would pass true. And I would probably need also an intermediate method, or two, one for margin with the default value and one for spacing. And if I do the same, no, I will do it like this. I can say here, margin Boolean, and here I would say margin, and here I would say spacing, Boolean, and here I would say true and spacing. Oops, doesn't work that well, because now we've got the same method with the exact same signature, a Boolean in parameter. That's a bit sad. So in Java, this is how we would do it, and as a DSL designer, you would have to choose whether to like value more margin or spacing by default. Choose one of the two. Which one? Wow. Sorry? Margin is a very good choice. Okay, perfect. And then the people who want to set spacing, hey, they need to call the one with the 2 parameters, which is not great. So instead, in Kotlin, what you can do is you can pass default. So I said the default was true. Well, if I put a big T, it doesn't work that much. What did I do wrong? What am I doing wrong? Yes. Okay. And now it compiles, and now by default everything is true. And now the good thing is I can call a VLayout like this. I can call a VLayout saying, hey, here I want to have like margin equals true. So I will say margin false. False, sorry. And then spacing by default will be true. But you tell me, hey, now I want the margin, the spacing to be false. So I need to do something like that. So I'm overriding with the default value, which doesn't make any sense. Don't worry, use named parameters. And now you've got you're covered. Good. Then we can continue. And what I want to do is here I used apply. Everybody is okay with apply? Yep. So I want to do the same here. I want to apply it, what I did here. Again, I want to have like a master view detail, a master detail view, and here I don't need to set the VLayout anymore here. So I want to add a VLayout. But for DSLs, it would actually be much, much better to have something like that. Would look much nicer. Yeah, forget the red stuff. So we can do it. So what we can do is actually we can create a so-called lambda with receiver. And the lambda with receiver, and I mustn't like forget it's vertical layout dot vertical layout dot nothing, and it returns unit. And with that, we can apply here what happens here, and we say apply init. And now we can just say, hey, and look, we can remove the parents if we don't need them. So this code will actually be executed here. Now, as a language designer, you need just to have, like, to make the following decision. First, do you want to apply the init and then to override it with your own stuff, or to let the client code have the last word? There is no right or wrong decision, it depends on your use case, but you must think about it. What is the most important to you? That's pretty nice. But now imagine we want to have vertical layout for whatever reason without any code inside. Oops, oops, too fast. Tells me, hey, you must pass something for the init. And I say, okay, then the default value will be empty. So now we can have both like empty VLayout or something with layout. Something that I didn't mention is actually we can write that because normally the syntax will be something like this. But in Kotlin, if your lambda is the last parameter of a function, you can move it outside of the parents. Okay. Well, the trick, now you know it, I will do the same with the fields. So I can do the same with the fields. I would say, hey, vertical layout dot field, or let's call it text. And I will pass in the text, I pass a caption, string. Then I can create text fields with the string, with the caption. Oops, caption. And then I can apply. I need to also to pass this init stuff. So I'm lazy, I will copy paste it. It won't work because it's the wrong signature. So here I say, hey, it's a text field. And now I will say init. Apply init. Okay. So, hey, I forgot something very important. Here I'm setting the content. Here I need again to apply, to add. So this is not fun. This is actually quite sneaky. So this add text is the vertical layout. Who here is a JavaScript developer? Wow. Sorry for that. Yeah. So I'm not a JavaScript developer, so I can say a lot of bad stuff about JavaScript, but I know this. And perhaps it's not true anymore, but at some point, this in JavaScript referred to the current object. And if you add a level of nesting, an additional level of nesting, this pointed to the current object, so you lost the reference to the parent object. And you add this trick to say that equals this, so you could still keep the reference inside. And Kotlin has it better. It's not super great, but it's much better. And I don't know how better it could be. So it's not great, but I think it's the best. We can reference like the vertical layout with this dot text. And then we can say, hey, add component this. I like when it's a line like this. And now we can like change this stuff. And we can say, instead of this, we can say, I called it text. And words. And because I have added this lambda with receiver, we can do stuff on the text if we need to. Pretty good. Now let's continue because, well, we found how we did it. I will create the label now. And the label it's called a text. And here it's a label. Yeah, the hardest part is to copy paste. Huh? And here we say texts. And we say this text label. Okay. And perhaps also here we need to set the contents mode. So I have an additional content mode. Content modes dot. No, here contents mode dot text. Yuppie. If you also do a lot of copy pastes, I think here it doesn't work because I'm in the old Kotlin version, but in the latest Kotlin version you can add trailing commas without issues. It's always nice. Yeah, something I didn't mention, I'm using a super old version of Kotlin. Ooh, not great. But this is to show you that even in the old version of Kotlin, you can write this kind of stuff. Doesn't change a thing. You don't need to have the latest and greatest. So here label and here contents modes. And now I can have finally the label. And here I can have this stuff. And look how nice it looks. And here, what you see is what you get. You want to change the order? Done. You cannot make a mistake. Well, you can make mistakes, but it's seen. It will be seen. Now we can do a bit better. Notice that here I am using the label, and I said, hey, by default it's text, but here I want to override it with HTML because I'm setting HTML. Now imagine that in your DSL, you've got a lot of HTML. The client code uses a lot of HTML. You can say, oh, then in that case, we could have here something like HTML for a step. But actually, we can do better. We can create a dedicated function, because you don't need to map one-to-one. You can add additional features. So here we can say, I will copy-paste, because again, I'm lazy. Here we say, hey, here we have something called HTML, and here it will be like this. And we will call HTML, oh, whoops, whoopsie. HTML label. And we will pass the texts, contents modes, HTML, and init. Now we can say HTML. So even if you start with an API that can be improved, let's say, you can improve it by yourself. And it depends a lot on the client codes. What do you want the clients to write? Sounds nice to you? Any questions so far? Good.
A minor thing I was thinking is why, because applying these labels is what you say also quite ugly. You also could use also, right?
Yes, that's true. But with this version, I'm not sure the also stdlib is already available. But you're right. Yeah, now you can use also, but you know I started a bit earlier, and I'm old. It's hard to change my ways, but you're right. You should use also. And now imagine we do that for all the Vardin library. No, you have it in your head? Good. And here it is. This is what I did. So again, here is the result. Button, native button, link, progress bar, whatever. Here is just for the documentation, because I'm using skdoc, so it's just not important. And if we run it, so here I have two modules. The core is the DSL designer. The core is how I design the DSL, and this one is what I call the sampler, is actually the usage. And now I can show you how it works. Not like this. Oh no, no, no. Oh no, not my demo. Did I make a mistake? Ah, I know. I need to be connected to the internet. Is there any Xebia guests? Yeah, but wait. I need the password. Probably you don't want to tell the whole world your password. So I will use my own. No worries. Everything is fine. That's really live coding. So share internet connection. Now everybody knows my phone. No, you don't know. Ah, it works already. That was fast. And yeah, so here, the buttons. All the nice little buttons, they are nicely aligned, and here we can see how I created them. Button, okay, with nothing. Button with a caption. Button with a caption and an icon. Button with a caption and an item listener that I call onClick. And here with everything. And this is here, doesn't do anything. Here I have an item listener. I mean, I really had a lot of fun. I have 10 minutes, which is good because I'm nearly finished. Really nice stuff. So the table, the grid, and the tree, I don't even remember how I did them. Not this. Here. I have code inside. So it looks declarative, but actually I can do pretty fun stuff inside. And because I only have 10 minutes and I want to have some room for questions, I will finish now. So now the question, yeah, we are at a Kotlin conference, but still, we need, because you are at the Kotlin conference, but perhaps you are a Groovy programmer. You say, why not Groovy? Because I love compile time checks. I mean, I started my journey with coding with Java, and I really couldn't, I have a very hard time launching my program to check if it works. I want to fail fast. So Groovy, before Kotlin, was the language on the JVM where you could create DSL. But actually, you had to run it to check that if it worked. Why not Scala? It's a good question. Actually, a lot of Kotlin's ideas and concepts come from Scala. Yes. No. In my opinion, a lot of them. But in my opinion, also, Kotlin is very pragmatic. What I disliked, I tried to learn Scala before. I was a consultant for 18 years. And the thing is, I try every time when I talk with a customer to make everything explicit. Now, Scala has an implicit keyword, which for me is very hard because, yeah, some magic happens and it's very hard to trace. So yes, you could use Scala and probably you will get the same result as I shown, but the foundations, the fundamentals of the language are quite different. Perhaps with Scala 3 it will change, but let's see. So in this talk, I've shown you several features of Kotlin that you could use to create your own DSL. So first, 100% Java interoperability. I've used Vardin seamlessly. You could use properties. You can use extension functions. Again, for me, this is the killer feature. Named parameters and default values are very, very nice. Lambda with receiver, very great. What I didn't show here, because I didn't need to, was in Kotlin, you can do operator overloading. Not operator overloading like in Scala, where you could have a bang, bang, hash, whatever. You could have anything, but you have a limited set of operators where the meaning is well understood by everybody, like plus, everybody understands. Hash, hash, bang, bang, I don't know if anybody has an implicit understanding of it. I didn't use reified generics either, but you can do really a lot of good stuff. Anybody here is a Spring developer? Yeah. So you know that with Spring Framework 5, there is a route DSL in Kotlin and a bean DSL, and the bean DSL use reified generics. So you could just say, hey, I just set the dependency that it requires using just a function called ref, and it will inject the bean with the right type, just because of reified generics, and it compiles. Also, you can use the infix operator. If you've got one single parameter on your function, you can just say, hey, this function is infixed, then you don't need the parents around it. So you can read my blog, you can follow me on Twitter. If you are interested in the demo, well, here there is this bit.ly link here. And though the talk was not about Hazelcast, you can join the Hazelcast Slack or get some free training. And now we've got 5 minutes for questions. Wow, just on time. Thanks. No question? Yeah. I'm afraid already.
Is there a let me get the boomstick.
you will get the boomstick, or I will need to repeat, and since I'm lazy, I prefer that you tell it once.
Is there a particular reason why you didn't use the property accessor syntax for the set margin and set padding?
Yeah, I think there is an issue with that. That's a good question. You've got an eagle eye. Yes, there is a reason. It's because I can use it on one, but not on the others. And let me show you. Kotlin DSL, here, this one. So here, it tells me, hey, use it. Great. But here it tells me, hey, no, you cannot use it. Because I think I need to do something like this. And I think it's margin info that I need to pass, something like that. No.
I think it's a naming conflict, right? So you have to do this.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah, something like this. And if I do this margin, yeah, it doesn't work. So I remember well it's margin info. So it doesn't look that nice. I need to be careful with you next time. But it's a good catch. So I in that case, I preferred to have both the same so that we don't get into this trouble. Then it's a little less nice, but at least, I mean, it's consistent. No more questions. I guess you will get one more coffee. And thanks a lot for your attention and enjoy the rest of the conference.